Trapped for 7 haunting years, spine-chilling tales of sinister isolation revealed and exposed. Every night in Maple Glen, darkness creeps with a chilling whisper, and for Sarah, the glowing facade of suburbia becomes a twisted dream. What once was a place of solace turns into an ominous prison as the 7th anniversary of her husband's vanishing looms like a thundercloud, casting shadows that suffocate every breath she takes. The laughter of her neighbors peels off the walls like paint, revealing the rotten rest beneath. Behind every curated garden and pristine porch is a festering secret, her perfect home becoming a graveyard of lost promises. As twilight settles, the neighborhood hums with unsettling echoes, laughter warping like warped vinyl, agonizingly familiar yet insidiously distorted. Sarah grips her coffee cup, the earthy warmth providing little comfort against the raw chill slithering through her bones. The porch light flickers, absurdly out of sync, while shadows dart like blackened arrows behind the neat hedges of homes that once felt safe. Each mundane action, the school drop-offs, the brief exchanged smiles, feels like a performance, a farce leading to the underbelly of something wicked. She hears it, too, the murmurs between neighbors swirling around her kitchen as she washes dishes, conversations about the night, fragments about a missing neighbor and the night her husband vanished. They stare at her as she turns but pretend to carry on, the knot in her belly twisting tighter. What had they shared that she hadn't been privy to? What dark pact had been formed under the cover of friendship? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That night, returning from her long shift at the diner, Sarah's heart pounds like a war drum as she senses movement, something lurking just out of sight. Her car keys feel too flimsy in her grip. Shadows flicker, watching, waiting. Panic blooms like weeds in her mind, and it strengthens as she opens the front door and Lena stands frozen, eyes like saucers of terror. "Mom! I saw something." Her words crash against the air, electrifying it with dread. As they retreat into the shadows of their home, every creak of the old house feels like a thunderous footstep, the walls leaning in, pressing closer as she shares Lena's frightful revelation. What was happening in the breezy calm of Maple Glen? Was it just paranoia, or was danger breathing down their necks? Each familiar face outside becomes grotesque, suspect. As the whispers grow louder, the boundary between safety and survival blurs into a sickening haze. With nowhere to turn, the very walls that once offered comfort echo with the ghosts of a hidden truth. Racing against the tight grip of their newfound reality, they are left questioning, who can be trusted? And what dark force has unraveled their lives, ready to pounce as their sanctuary spirals into a twisted nightmare? In the depths of night, Sarah knows it's not just her community, it's her heart holding a sinister secret as shadows draw ever closer. The night dragged on, enveloped in a suffocating silence that felt alive, thickening around Sarah like a shroud. Lena's eyes held a wild fear, an energy that crackled in the air. "I saw it, Mom. I swear," she pleaded, her voice quivering. Sarah knelt down, bringing her ears to the same level as her daughter's, frantically scanning the dark corners of their home for threats, real or imagined. "What did you see, Lena?" Sarah pressed, her heart pounding against her ribcage. Her fingers twitched on the countertop, steadying herself as anxiety gripped her. The flickering porch light cast grotesque shadows around them, elongating shapes into monstrous forms. A loud thud echoed from the living room, and they both froze. "Mom, it's in the house." Lena trembled, her lip quivering. No. It's just the wind," Sarah tried to soothe her, but doubt gnawed at her insides. With a shaky breath, she pushed herself upright and whispered, "Stay here." She crept towards the sound, every step weighed down by dread. The floorboards creaked, loud as gunfire in the clammy air, and every inch of her felt exposed, raw under the weight of her pulse. Shadows writhed with sinister intent, drawing her deeper into their embrace. In the living room, the curtain swayed, the source of the sound elusive. A chill raced up her spine as she caught a glimpse of something moving out of the corner of her eye. It was a fleeting shadow, dark against the dim light of the moon filtering through the window. She turned, but it was gone, leaving behind a heavy silence that swelled in her chest. "Mom?" Lena's voice was barely a whisper, cracking against the weight of the unknown. "Stay where you are," Sarah called, her own voice trembling. She felt like a moth drawn to a flame, knowing it was dangerous yet unable to resist. Her eyes swept the room, searching for anything amiss, anything that felt even remotely sinister. It was all too quiet. Then she caught something a photo frame askew on the mantel, a frame that shouldn't have been disturbed. Heart racing, she stepped closer, the discomfort settling in her gut deepening. As she adjusted the frame, a folded piece of paper slipped out from behind it. She unfolded it, her fingers trembling. The note was scrawled in hurried handwriting, "They're watching. Don't trust anyone." The air thickened around her, constricting. Panic surged as she whipped around, eyes darting to where Lena still stood, petrified. Shadows loomed just beyond the edges of her vision, no longer mere flickers of light but something tangible, lurking. Suddenly, the front door creaked open, an uninvited gust blowing through the house. Sarah's heart stopped, her breath hitching in her throat. "Who's there?" she shouted, though fear clutched at her voice, rendering it weak. There was no reply, just the hum of the night, tainted with a sense of impending doom. She backed away, heart hammering like a death knell, eyes fixed on the door that seemed to widen, inviting danger inside. The shadows in the corners twisted, morphing into grotesque shapes, and she realized that they were not just figments of her imagination. "Mom! Please!" Lena's voice snapped Sarah back. "Get back!" she yelled, instinct overriding reason. They crashed together, their bodies instinctively seeking refuge behind the kitchen island, heartbeats thudding in unison. But it wasn't just paranoia surging through Sarah. It was the knowledge, the horrifying realization that Maple Glen held no safety for them any longer. In a mad dash, she locked eyes with Lena, every moment of quiet shattered by the sinister unknown lurking just beyond their haven. "Mom, what do we do?" Lena's voice wavered, eyes darting around the room. "Prepare for the worst," Sarah murmured, feeling the pulse of dread echo in every fiber of her being. The whispers from the neighbors had become a reality, and whatever horrid truth lay entwined in the fabric of their lives was now breaking free. The door creaked wider, shadows stretching as if tangling into a web that would ensnare them both. What had she missed in those whispers? And why did it feel as though the entire world was plotting against them? The lies were woven deep, a sinister fate awaited, and the real terror was just beginning. The wind howled outside, a tortured wail that merged with Lena's soft whimpers. In that suffocating space behind the kitchen island, the world outside felt like a distant nightmare, but the shadows in their home were all too real. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest, wild as if trying to escape into the night outside. "What's happening, Mom?" Lena's small hands clutched Sarah's, seeking comfort, but Sarah felt nothing but terror coursing through her veins. She opened her mouth to speak, but words failed her. The door still stood ajar, a dark portal that invited whatever madness lurked outside. Another thud echoed from the living room, louder this time, like a message echoing in the silence. Sarah felt the air tighten around her, stifling her screams. "We have to go," she suddenly decided. "Where?" Lena asked, her eyes wide with fear, longing for clarity in the chaos. "What if it gets us?" "It won't. I promise," Sarah lied, forcing herself into action. She knew they couldn't stay there, hiding, waiting for something malevolent to find them. "Follow me," she said, her voice steadier than she felt as she pulled away, dragging Lena with her. They crawled out from behind the island, each movement heavy with anxiety. The living room laid before them a sacred ground now sullied by dread. The shadows seemed to shift, almost as if acknowledging her presence, taunting her with the knowledge of their watchful eyes. Footsteps echoed upstairs. Could it be just her imagination? Or something more sinister? Lena gripped Sarah's hand tighter. "Mom, what if it's already in the house?" The tremor in Lena's voice made her heart sink deeper. "Stay close. Just stay close," Sarah whispered, lifting one foot cautiously, ready in case they needed to bolt. She motioned towards the hallway. Her instincts told her that the back door was their safest bet. They tiptoed towards the hallway, Sarah's breath quick and shallow, narrowing her focus on escape. The wood creaked beneath them like it was a living thing, the floor groaning and moaning as if it wished to warn the shadows to stay away. She glanced back at the door, not flapping lightly, but wide open, beckoning with an insidious grin. Another crash sounded from upstairs, a heavy object tumbling down. Her heart plummeted. "We need to get out now." She turned, leading Lena towards freedom, hoping against hope it wouldn't lead them into the clutches of whatever had invaded their home. They burst through the back door, the night air colder than the anxious atmosphere inside. They stumbled into the backyard, but as Sarah looked around, an overwhelming dread washed over her. Thick fog rolled in, shrouding the world like a foggy prison. "Mom, where are we going?" Lena's voice was barely audible, swallowed by the swirling mist. "Anywhere but here," Sarah rasped, scanning the surroundings. The faint outline of the trees swayed like dark sentinels, silhouettes watching closely. The hairs on Sarah's arms stood on end. A rustling sound nearby sent her instincts into overdrive. She pulled Lena to her side, fear curling in her stomach as a shadow flitted amongst the trees. "Please let us go back," Lena begged. "To what?" Sarah snapped, a deep well of frustration and panic bubbling over, broken by the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "There is nothing safe left." As they crept further into the yard, a blood-curdling scream ripped through the night, thin and desperate. Instinctively, it froze Sarah in her tracks, and she turned back to Lena. "Did you hear that?" Before Lena could respond, the world around them twisted. The trees seemed to converge, limbs stretching towards them like claws, shadows pulsating and solidifying into grotesque faces. "We have to run!" Sarah screamed, panic exploding. But suddenly, the ground below them trembled. A loud thud resonated again from the house, more pronounced, no longer hidden, as if announcing its presence, demanding attention, an invitation or a warning. "What was that?" Lena cried, eyes wide and fearful, her small body shaking beside Sarah's. As the shadows danced around them, a sinister voice echoed. Whispered secrets beneath the rustle of leaves, a familiar voice, lacing terror through Sarah's heart. Sarah had beckoned, dark and alluring, pulling her as though it wrapped around her throat. "No!" She screamed, gripping Lena tighter, every instinct screaming to flee but an invisible force holding her in place. In that moment, Sarah realized something terrifying. Whatever lurked in the shadows had not just entered their home. It had been watching from the very beginning, tangled in the roots of their lives, waiting for the right moment to strike. As the night deepened, she knew they were never truly alone. And then a whisper brushed her ear like ice, "You'll never escape." What choice did they have? Would they confront the darkness or allow it to consume them? The decision loomed over her like a deadly shadow. Sarah could feel the air thicken around them, a dense, suffocating fog that wound around her throat like a noose. "We can't stay here," she gasped, her voice strained as she barely managed to pull Lena toward the space between the looming trees. The ground felt uneasy beneath their feet, swaying slightly as if it were alive. "Mom, that voice, it's not real," Lena whimpered, her small frame shaking against the chill. Sarah pressed her daughter closer, her resolve wavering as the shadows writhed and called to her. "Just keep moving," Sarah urged, but fear bled into her authority. Each step felt like it was taking them deeper into a trap. The towering trees loomed overhead, their gnarled branches twisted, forming sinister shapes that appeared to claw at the air. A rustle interrupted the silence. It was coming from behind them. Fear gnawed at Sarah's insides. She spun around, breath hitching as a dark figure slipped into view, its outline barely discernible through the mist. It lurked between the trees, pausing as if gauging them, then vanished into the fog without a sound. "What was that?" Lena whispered, her voice barely rising above the eerie stillness. I don't know," Sarah said, panic seeping into her words. "Stay close. Trust me." They moved further into the obscured night, every crack of a twig sharp and loud, each breath a silent prayer. But the air around them was heavy, thick with danger and dread. A shiver ran down Sarah's spine, an instinctive warning that threatened to drown her in despair. "Mom," Lena's grip tightened. "I feel like we're being watched." Nausea churned in Sarah's stomach. "It's okay, sweetheart." "Just a little further," she said, struggling to sound convincing. But the creeping sensation that they were not alone sank deeper into her skin. Suddenly, the familiar voice returned, slithering through the air like smoke. Sarah, you can't run from me, Lena cringed, burying her head into Sarah's side. Make it stop. Please. I'm trying. They stumbled forward, guided solely by instinct, but the shadows seemed to close in tighter, wrapping around their limbs, beckoning them back into the darkness. As they sprinted, the underbrush crackled beneath them. Sarah's breath came in ragged gasps, dizzying her as she fought against the clawing fear. She was determined not to look back, pushing Lena ahead of her as the thundering of her heart drummed in her ears. But in the distance, she heard that sound again, a short burst of laughter that chilled her blood. It hung in the air, echoing through the trees, twisting into a haunting melody. The sound pierced through the fog of her mind and confirmed her worst fears. They weren't just running, they were being herded. Lena stumbled, sparking a surge of panic in Sarah. Get up, Lena. We can't stop. She yanked her daughter off the ground, urgency propelling them forward, but Lena's eyes were wide, tracking something behind them. Mom! Look! Lena pointed, and as Sarah turned, her stomach dropped. A figure emerged from the fog, tall and dark, its elongated limbs stretching unnaturally, wrapping around the trees. It was as if the shadows themselves had stepped into the light, an abomination made flesh, grinning with a mouth too wide for its face, teeth like jagged rocks. Sarah, the creature crooned, a sickly sweet tone laced with a terror that chilled her bones. You think you can escape me? Run! Sarah screamed, the primal demand overriding any thought of retreat. She clutched Lena's arm and they darted deeper into the thicket, branches clawing at their skin and the cold air thickening, becoming a cacophony of chaos. With every frantic stride, Sarah could hear the footsteps behind them, relentless and rapid, slithering ever closer. She could taste the metallic sharpness of fear on her tongue as adrenaline surged through her veins. But the forest didn't relent. It twisted, branches bending as if the very landscape was conspiring against them. Lena gasped. Mom, I can't breathe, just a little further. Sarah urged, desperation clawing at her throat. She had to get Lena to safety, out of this nightmare. But the path seemed to grow darker. The shadows began to swirl, whispering incoherently, threatening to pull them under. Just when Sarah thought the edge of the forest might be within reach, the ground gave way beneath them. They tumbled, helplessly, a sickening plunge into the void, the breath stolen from their lungs. For a moment, they were weightless. Silence engulfed them, pitch black and devouring. Then they landed hard on a mossy floor, the world spinning before Sarah's eyes. Dazed, she blinked into the dim light filtering through the leaves above. Just as she began to rise, a sinister realization struck her. This wasn't just an escape. They had plunged into the depths of the very heart of the darkness. What are we going to do now, Mom? Lena's voice was small, lost in the expanse of the unknown. I don't know, Sarah admitted, her voice thick with dread. Panic tightened its grip on her chest. But just then, echoing through the darkness, came the laughter again, that malevolent sound drawing closer. And Sarah understood this was only the beginning of their nightmare. What awaited them next? Would they find a way out, or was this darkness destined to swallow them whole? The dampness of the moss pressed against Sarah's skin as she pushed herself to her feet. Pain shot through her limbs, but fear propelled her forward. She gripped Lena's arm tightly, their fingers intertwined like lifelines, yet the darkness that surrounded them felt like an oppressive blanket suffocating her resolve. Mom, I can't see anything. Is it safe? Lena's voice trembled, breaking the silence like glass shattering in the night. Just stay close, sweetheart. We'll find a way out of here, Sarah replied, forcing an edge of confidence into her tone. She scanned the shadowy space, searching for any signs of movement, any glimmer of hope. That laughter echoed again, a hollow thing that ricocheted off the damp earth. It wrapped around them, a twisted reminder that whatever hunted them was still near. Panic flared like a bright flame in Sarah's chest. Was the creature waiting just outside their sight, lurking, savoring the fear that radiated off them? They began to move, step by step, careful not to trip over unseen roots or debris hidden beneath the thick blanket of moss. But each sound, every crack of a branch, every rustle of leaves made Sarah jump, her heart pounding like a war drum. Mom, what if it finds us? Lena's small voice quivered and Sarah felt a tear threaten to spill. It won't, Sarah lied, swallowing hard. We're going to be okay. As they advanced, the silence began to shift to soft whispering, like the rustling of paper or the calling of wind. It moved around them, curling into their ears, carrying fragmented words that clawed at her sanity. Sarah strained to listen, but the sounds were elusive, fading in and out as if taunting her with secrets she could not grasp. Suddenly, she stumbled over something thick and cold, a twisted vine, possibly. She landed hard, gasping as the breath was knocked from her lungs. Lena fell beside her, the ground damp and unyielding. "Mom! I'm okay," Sarah insisted, her voice a strained whisper. But even as she said it, dread settled over them like a fog. She got up quickly, dragging Lena up with her, then froze. The laughter erupted once more, a shrill burst of joy that twisted into something almost monstrous. It echoed around the space, bouncing off unreachable walls. Sarah squinted into the shadows, searching for where the sound could be coming from. Then she caught movement. Just at the edge of her vision, something dark and glistening shifted in the gloom. She couldn't make out what it was, but instinctively she felt it was watching them. "Lena, we need to move now," she commanded, her voice shaking as adrenaline surged through her veins. They stumbled forward, desperate, hearts racing in unison. The shadows grew thicker, and the grotesque laughter wrapped around them tighter. Sarah, the voice slithered through the air again, taunting her with familiar warmth, yet laced with malevolence. "You've come to play with me, no?" Sarah shouted, her voice fracturing under the weight of terror. They darted deeper into the unseen territory, breathless and panicked, as spectral fingers reached for them, limbs of shadow clawing for purchase. Another stumble. They hit something soft and marred a stony ground below them, elevated, surrounded by inky darkness. Fear buzzed in her ears. Were they trapped? Was the laughter a promise of their doom? "Mom, it's getting closer." "I know, Lena. Just hold on." The air shimmered as they pushed through the looming darkness, turning where they felt something solid beneath their feet. But with no idea where to go, they just kept moving, unsure if they were heading deeper into the belly of the beast or toward a way out. Everything around her felt sinister. Then, a sudden gust of wind rushed past, carrying a new sound. A faint cry, familiar. It resonated through the darkness like a bell tolling, twisting her stomach in knots. "Mom!" Lena's voice sharpened, panic rising with each note. "What was that?" Sarah's blood turned to ice. The sound wasn't just a cry, but a frantic plea, a voice she recognized. Her heart lurched. It couldn't be. "Wait," Sarah whispered, dread blossoming within. Horror. That voice, it can't be, but all she heard was the sinister laughter punctuating the air, drawing closer with every heartbeat. They had to make a choice. But would it lead to despair, or salvation? Before they could decide, the ground trembled beneath them. Something was coming. Something they hadn't prepared for. The tremors beneath Sarah and Lena intensified, vibrating through their feet like a warning. Terror pricked at Sarah's skin as she embraced the chill clawing up her spine. The laughter morphed into something darker, more sinister, resonating like it was alive, feeding off their fear. "Mom, it's shaking more." Lena's eyes were wide, shimmering with fear. Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand tighter, her heart racing faster than the shaking ground beneath them. In front of them, the shadows twisted, swirling like currents in a dark river, drawing close as if something unseen was gathering power. She pressed forward, leading Lena deeper into the suffocating dark, each step filled with uncertainty. The cries echoed again, louder this time, intertwining with the laughter, almost mocking. "Mom! Help me! Please!" A surge of dread crashed through Sarah, each plea twisting tighter around her throat. Those cries were too familiar, too recognizable. They echoed with the voice she had heard so many times before, her own. "No! It can't be," she thought, panic flooding her mind. The shadows bucked wildly now, jostling Sarah and Lena from side to side, pushing them toward a steep incline. Sarah stumbled but surged forward, torn between instinct and the bitter taste of dread rising in her throat. "Lena, we have to keep running," she shouted, disgusted with herself for leading them down this path. But the ground beneath them surged and buckled, as though alive, shoving them even closer. Panic threatened to overwhelm her, but they pressed on, driven forward by primal instinct. Every shadow seemed to stretch and breathe, curling around them, hungry for more. Suddenly, the cries morphed, melding into desperate laughter, seductive yet cruel. Come play with me, Sarah. The voice infiltrated her thoughts, spiraling into her mind like a vine wrapping ever tighter. Go away! I want to play! Sarah screamed, the words fueled by desperation. The laughter faded momentarily, but it was enough to allow her a brief breath. The ground shifted violently, and they teetered on the edge of a precipice, teetering dangerously over an abyss that swallowed the dark. The sound of dripping water echoed from below, chilling her even more. The shadows were alive, a swirling mass of confusion and terror, pulling them toward a point of no return. Mom! I can't hold on. Lena's voice broke, frighteningly close to sobbing. Sarah felt her grip slipping on reality, as the shadows whispered secrets that infected her mind. No, no! Sarah growled, panic boiling in her blood. She dug her heels into the earth and pulled Lena back, but the weight of the darkness forced them closer to the edge. A single misstep and they would tumble into that black void. Even in the dark, she could feel it, a kind of weight settling, something ancient and malignant. If something lurked beneath them, waiting for them to fall, then she felt it, a tug, a soft one, like a child reaching for their parent. The insatiable shadows stilled for just a moment, as if aware of a tension in the air. Wait, Mom, Lena whispered, her voice barely a murmur. Sarah turned, heart racing, anticipating her daughter's next words. But even as she leaned in close, Lena's eyes glimmered with a horror Sarah could hardly comprehend. Mom, there's something behind you. The world spun as Sarah turned quickly, heart pounding violently in her chest. She caught a glimpse of a figure, sleek and dark, rising from the shadows, its silhouette bathed in an unnatural glow. Time froze. All sound vanished except for the whispering of her own breath, and then silence broke like thunder. Let the game begin. A chill wrapped around her like icy chains as she felt it. They were no longer just hunted. They were part of something far more sinister. She held Lena's hand tighter, preparing to flee again, but the ground shifted once more, and the shadows pressed against them, closing in. What was it? What do they want? Then, the darkness seemed to swallow them whole. What had started as a desperate escape was transforming into a far darker game than they had ever anticipated. And the rules, who knew what the rules were? The chilling laughter returned, more sinister than ever, echoing in the void. For a split second, Sarah felt the oppressive weight of inevitability. The question was no longer whether they would escape, but rather, what awaited them if they failed. Sarah's breath quickened as the oppressive silence was shattered by that haunting laughter, echoing in the void around them. It was an unsettling melody, each note tugging insistently at the fringes of her sanity, pulling her deeper into despair. She pulled Lena closer, feeling her daughter's warmth against her side, a fragile lifeline amidst the dark chaos. Mom, I'm scared. Lena's whisper felt like a dagger, piercing the enveloping darkness. I know, baby. Just stick with me, Sarah replied, her voice steadier than she felt. But as they stood on the precipice, the shadows swayed and twisted, reaching as if probing for weaknesses, waiting for the moment to strike. Suddenly, a burst of light appeared to flicker in the void. Sarah hesitated, then squeezed Lena's hand. We have to check it out, she said, more to convince herself than her daughter. They stepped away from the edge, toward the faint glow cutting through the dark. Yet the closer they got, the more the light warped, distorting into cruel shapes that danced mockingly before their eyes. It was as if the shadows were fighting back, grappling to keep them from moving forward. A low growl rumbled from the depths of the darkness, shaking the very ground beneath them. It sounded almost human, a twisted echo of laughter, warped by malice. Mom, do you hear that? Lena asked, her grip tightening. Just keep going, Sarah urged, though her own heart raced with mounting despair. The sound reverberated in her bones, rattling the very essence of her fear. They stumbled forward, hoping against hope that this light would lead them to safety. The shadows clawed at their heels as they moved, slithering like serpents hungry for flesh. Let go of her. A new voice sliced through the air, sharp and commanding. It sent shivers racing down Sarah's spine. She turned, eyes wide, scanning the darkness. Emerging from the shadows, a figure appeared, a woman, drenched in the eerie luminosity, shrouded in a tattered gown that floated like mist around her. Her eyes blazed with a fierce intensity. "Help us!" Sarah shouted, desperation spilling from her lips. The woman raised a finger to her lips, silencing them. "You must not disturb the game," she warned, her voice a haunting melody woven with sadness and a chill that seemed to settle into Sarah's bones. "They watch and they listen. You don't want to incite their wrath." A cold sweat trickled down Sarah's back. "What game?" But the woman only shook her head, her eyes glinting dangerously. "To escape, you must play by the rules, but the rules are never revealed until it's too late." The ground trembled again, more violently this time. Shadows writhed, closing in tightly around them, making it impossible for Sarah to breathe. "Mom, we need to go back. Please." Lena cried, dragging at Sarah's arm, but the dark seemed to erupt with laughter, a cacophony of voices all clamoring over one another. "Where can we go?" Sarah shouted, her voice cracking under the pressure. "There is no escape," the woman hissed. "Not until the final act plays out." With that, she faded back into the shadows, her warning lingering like a bitter taste in the air. The darkness shrieked and surged, pulling them toward the void. Sarah stumbled, trying to hold on to Lena as both of them were drawn closer to an insatiable maw, the laughter rising into a feverish crescendo, mixing with their own heartbeats. Just as Sarah thought they would be consumed, a wall of fire erupted from the abyss, casting a painful light against the shadows. A silhouette emerged from the flames, standing tall and proud. "Let us see just how well you play the game." In that moment, Sarah felt the despair climax. The world spun, fire and darkness colliding violently around them. What was this game, and how did they intend to survive it? The shadows watched, hungry for the outcome. The flames crackled and whipped at the edges of the abyss, casting a furious light that glistened off Lena's terrified eyes. Time seemed to stretch in the chaos, and Sarah felt a whirlpool of dread swallowing her whole. What kind of a game was this? She hadn't come here for a contest with darkness, she just wanted to protect her daughter. As the silhouette stepped forward from the raging fire, it formed into a man, his face twisted in a mocking grin, eyes glinting with fiery hunger. "Welcome! Welcome," he sang, his voice dripping with false cheer. "The night is ripe for games, and you, dear players, have arrived just in time. Stay away from us," Sarah shouted, shielding Lena behind her. The shadows writhed and blocked any potential escape, growling and snarling, as if debating whether they should take the pair right then and there. "Oh, sweet mother," he laughed, his voice clawing at her sanity, "you misunderstand. There is no escape, only play." With a flick of his wrist, the flames churned and formed a barrier, sealing them from retreat. Every inch felt suffocating, the heat pressed against them, burning their lungs. "Mom," Lena whimpered, clutching Sarah's shirt. The little girl's eyes darted nervously, seeking refuge, but there was none to be found. As if drawn by the fear radiating from mother and daughter, the shadows thickened, swirling around them like a tempest. Each gust whispered promises of despair and torment, enticing them closer to the edge of madness. "Here are your choices," the man continued, his grin widening with sadistic glee. "You will face 3 challenges, each revealing a truth. Are you willing to play? Truth?" Sarah gasped, "or more deception?" The walls of camaraderie were crumbling between them, her trust in the strange figure waning. "Ah! Deception only lays the groundwork for truths yet uncovered. Will you unravel the game or be torn apart by your own fears?" A pulse of terror raced through Sarah. The very words felt like chains, binding them to an intricate web of chaos. What truths did he want to expose? What horrors might they face? Challenge 1. He bellowed gleefully, extending a hand toward the hungry shadows. "You must answer truthfully. What do you fear most?" The shadows stirred at his command, waiting, twisting in anticipation. They were like a pack ready to pounce. Lena shivered next to her, and Sarah could feel her resolve faltering. "Mom, I don't want to play," Lena cried, but the laughter echoed ominously, drowning out anything else. "Oh, precious child, you've already begun. Your very existence is at stake. You don't have to do this," Sarah urged, her voice rising in desperation. "We can find another way." "Another way?" "This is the only path left." The man's voice cut through her panic like glass. And now, the shadows will take their turn. What do you fear, Sarah? That question hung in the air, a weight that threatened to crush her. Memories flashed unbidden, the past tormented her as if they taunted with a knowing sneer. She had to answer, but the truth felt like fire threatening to consume her. Losing her, Sarah whispered, the words almost choking her, heavy with pain. Laughter erupted, shrill and piercing, shaking the very ground beneath them. The shadows lunged forward, the darkness swirling hungrily, overflowing with the echoes of her confession. Excellent! The man clapped, reveling in her torment. But that was just the beginning. Remember, every truth you reveal comes with a price, and the game is far from over. With each word, the shadows pressed in tighter, their claws eager, the laughter intensifying. The fire flared, casting grotesque shapes that twisted the faces of the shadows into visions of horror, whispers of their worst fears. What price was left to pay? In that moment of dread, the fire flickered ominously, threatening to extinguish as the shadows closed in. Would they find the strength to face the nightmare ahead, or be lost forever in a game of terror? The end was only the beginning. What other truths were hidden in the inky depths of despair? The air crackled as the flames danced violently, casting a hellish glow that seemed to breathe with malevolent life. Sarah felt her heart pound as the oppressive heat wrapped around them like a serpent. The shadows, now emboldened by her admission, surged closer, tendrils reaching out to caress her skin with icy fingers. Do we have to? Lena whimpered, her small voice quivering. Hold on tight, sweetheart, Sarah whispered, squeezing her daughter's hand. Panic tinged her thoughts, each second stretching painfully as the figure loomed above them, glee plastered on his face. Now, let us see what treasures of fear you hide away, shall we? A flick of his fingers sent a shudder through the shadows, and they hissed, swirling with anticipation. Challenge 2 awaits you, sweet mother and brave little girl. The shadows parted like a curtain, revealing a narrow path leading deeper into the inferno, a twisted sequence of corridors bordered by a grotesque gallery of their fears. Flickering images danced along the walls, nightmarish versions of their pasts, tragedies they had buried, and disasters hanging like specters between them. On this path, you must confront the greatest regret that haunts you, he proclaimed, his voice echoing with sinister delight. Only then can you continue. Do you choose to move forward? I don't want to see, Sarah stammered, already picturing the worst moments of her life. You don't have a choice, he sneered, his grin widening. Regrets make us human. Embrace them or be consumed by the abyss. Racing adrenaline spurred Sarah forward, each step heavier than the last. Lena hesitated, but fear pulled them along, she felt it seep into her skin. Shadows scraped against the walls, whispering secrets, teasing her with long-forgotten memories floating just out of reach. Do you remember that night? The derisive voice hounded her, slithering into her ear like a cold wind. The night you couldn't save her, that girl you let drown. No. Sarah yelled, spinning around, searching for the source of the taunts, but the shadows merely laughed, a chorus of disembodied voices. Lena squeezed her hand tighter, her terror palpable. Keep going. A voice pleaded from the depths of the path, one that sounded all too familiar. Mommy? Lena's voice trembled, a single tear rolling down her innocent cheek. Stay with me. Sarah gasped, looking into her daughter's frightened eyes. The labyrinth of regret loomed ahead, shrouded in shadows and taunting echoes. I'm scared, Lena said, her words punctuated by the heavy sigh of impending doom. Me too, Sarah confessed, pulling her closer, feeling the warmth of their connection against the bizarre darkness surrounding them. But we will face this together. With the first defiant step, Sarah thrust them forward into the gloom. Each heartbeat felt like an echo of the past as they walked through flickering memories. The cries of forgotten souls hung in the air, taunting her with familiar cries of desperation. They stumbled into a scene, a reflection of the night Sarah had tried to save another child from drowning. She could hear the rushing water, the frantic screams, the weight of her inaction pressing against her chest. See? Taunted the shadowy figure. You didn't even try. What makes you think you can save your daughter now? The shadows around them thickened again, closing in like vultures waiting for their next meal. Sarah's breath hitched, reality twisting, suffocating. Do you regret not saving her? Will you choose to forget or face the truth lurking below? What do you truly hold on to, dear mother? Each question pierced her like a knife. Each wave of memories threatened to drown her once more. Lena, remember our love. We can beat this, she shouted, summoning her strength. The fire roared back to life, fueled by desperation. I believe in you, Mommy, Lena cried, her voice cutting through the tumult like a lifeline. As warmth swelled in Sarah, the fire brightened, pushing back the shadows momentarily. But the laughter of the man grew louder, merging with the screams of the past. Ah, but that is only half of your fear. Dear players, what waits beyond might just finish what I have only begun. And in that moment of flickering hope, when they thought they could push through, the shadows lunged forward, and the laughter morphed into a chilling resonance. Would they find the truth to break free, or would the darkness consume them completely? Only the next challenge awaited, and it was far from over. The oppressive darkness swirled around Sarah and Lena, the shadows eager to drag them back into their hellish game. Shouting echoed in the abyss, fighting its way through the layers of terror that thickened the air. What do you hold on to, dear mother? The sinister voice sneered, slithering into the recesses of Sarah's mind. Mom, I can't do this. Lena's tiny voice quivered, and her grip tightened, knuckles white against Sarah's palm. Yes, you can. We're in this together. Sarah's voice pierced through her own panic. She turned to face the twisted memories on the walls, where images of her past mistakes flickered like old film, mercilessly invading her thoughts. The laughter grew louder, a taunting reminder of her failures. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a scene that froze Sarah's heart in its chest. A reflection of a frantic night rushed in, the water's roar, the splashing, the terrified face of a child she couldn't save. It was a memory she thought had been buried long ago. No! Not this! Sarah cried, grabbing onto Lena, pulling her daughter close as she tried to shield her from the chaos. The bitter weight of guilt crashed down, nearly knocking the breath from her lungs. Why didn't you save me? She heard in a voice laced with fear and betrayal, echoing in the darkness. It wasn't just the child from her past, it was Lena, too. The shadows wavered like a living thing, soaking in her pain, making it swell. What do you truly hold on to? The man's voice called again, taunting and dripping with excitement. Sarah could feel the shadows wrap around her, pressure building like a vice. Mommy, please don't let them take me. Lena whimpered, tears streaming down her small face. That plea sent a jolt through Sarah, a surge of determination rising inside her. No! She shouted, her voice vibrating with conviction. I won't let them take you. That night doesn't define me. As if her words were a rallying cry, the shadows recoiled, and the flickering images stuttered, unable to hold her captive any longer. Lena! Sarah shouted, her breath ragged. Remember our love. Remember us. The warmth of that memory filled the air with a fierce light. It illuminated the darkness, blinding the shadows momentarily. They shrieked, irritated. The laughter transformed into shrieking horror as the light surged, forcing the shadows back. Outside the tumultuous void, another path unfolded, one that shimmered with hope. Run! Sarah yelled, seizing Lena's hand tight, propelling them forward. But the laughter followed, more persistent than ever. You think you won, dear mother? The worst is yet to come. Once again, they stumbled into a vibrant scene, a recollection of joy and laughter, the kind lost in the fog of their fight. Sarah saw a day in the park, sunny and bright, where Lena danced, her laughter ringing like bells. Remember this? Sarah whispered, forcing Lena to look. These moments are ours, and we won't let fear steal them away. The laughter surrounding them changed, it was softer now, taunting yet nostalgic. Stand up and resist, I dare you, it beckoned. Lena, keep holding on. Sarah urged. Stay with me. Mommy, I'm scared. Lena cried, her small voice slipping through the suffocating grasp of fear. Do you remember the stories I told at night? The brave ones who overcame monsters? Yes. Lena replied, her voice gaining a glimmer of strength. Then we can be brave too. Together. With newfound courage, they pressed on. The shadows began to flicker, and with each determined step, the laughter grew distant, overshadowed by the brilliance of their moments together. Fear might shape their world, but love fueled their struggle. No more playing by their rules. Sarah shouted defiantly. The flames erupted anew, invigorating their path. Challenge 3. The man cried, his voice trembling with rage. Face the final truth, and if you're strong enough, perhaps you'll survive. I'm not scared of you. Sarah roared, her heart igniting with a fierce light. We are not just players in your twisted game. We will break free together. With flames as their guide, they barreled through the darkness, battling past their regrets and fears, hearts pounding with hope. Meanwhile, the shadows stretched and twisted, desperate to pull them back, to ensnare them in the darkness once more, and at that moment, amid the churning chaos, Sarah felt something shift, a sense of liberation igniting within her spirit. The shadows screamed, an unholy chorus rising around them, but Sarah and Lena kept moving forward, emboldened by their unity and love. They reached the edge where darkness met light, a threshold between despair and hope. Then, as the shadows recoiled in fury, they dove into the light, leaving every ounce of fear behind. They burst into the open, the night sky sprawling above them, stars twinkling boldly as if celebrating their triumph. Panting, they collapsed together in the grass, overwhelmed by the heavy release of fear and the euphoric thrill of freedom. We did it, Mom. We're free. Lena wept, muffled by joy. Yes, we are, Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face as she hugged her daughter tight. We faced the darkness, and we won. As a gentle breeze washed over them, the shadows dissipated, retreating back into the depths they came from. The chilling laughter faded into mere whispers, swallowed entirely by the night. In that moment of quiet relief, Sarah realized the truth of it all. Darkness would always be there, lurking at the edges of their lives, but the light of their love could outshine even the thickest dread. Come on, sweetheart, she said, her voice strong and steady. Let us go home. And as they walked back through the familiar streets of Maple Glen, hand in hand, Sarah vowed never to forget the power of their bond. It was a new dawn, a fresh beginning. But the shadows would wait. They always would. Remember, it's not finished yet. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm, and show your support. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this gripping conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful ending. Join us next time, you won't want to miss a moment.